In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the import feature of KeepaScore and how easy it is to get your data into KeepaScore, even if you're using a ranking provider like Duper, or if you're capturing your own data via a Google form, or if you're using any other service provider that allows you to capture player data for the purpose of registration. As of the shooting of this video, KeepaScore does not manage any type of registration, although we do have a link on our website that tells you how you can set up your own free registration for your own tournaments, or you can use any one of the many providers. So let's take a look at the import. When we go up to the menu, one of the options that we're going to find as we scroll down is this option right here, Import Players. Now, KeepaScore provides a very easy way to import your data. It is not specific to any order. We can click on that option and we're going to see how easy this is. We click on Import Players. Now, the one thing that we are interested in that is very specific is that you must match the column headers that KeepaScore expects. But as you can see, it mentions you can paste your import data here. You can copy from any spreadsheet software. Now, provided that spreadsheet is always in the format, when you copy it is in what's known as a tab delimited or comma delimited format, KeepaScore will import that data. It is also possible to have a spreadsheet file and simply share that file to KeepaScore, and provided you have all of the proper column headers, it will import your data. Now, where do we find those column headers? There is a button right here called Help. When we click on this button, we are going to be able to access our column headers. I'm going to do that now. I click on Help, and we can see right here selected for us, it tells us all of the column headers that KeepaScore supports. Make note that it's important right here, super important. If you're going to be doing a recurring import, we don't want to duplicate players. In order to avoid that, we need at least one piece of information out of the two that are currently possible. Either an email, or if you're using Duper data, a Duper ID. And the Duper data really only applies to club-specific tournament directors. If you have a club, or if you have, sometimes there are Duper events that provide spreadsheets with the Duper ID included. If that's not available or provided by Duper, then at some point in time, KeepaScore will probably have support for Duper. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy these values and we're going to take them over to our spreadsheet. Let's turn off my indicator right there and we'll make sure that we're going to copy this. And we'll click OK because I'm in the simulator and I should be able to switch over to another application. And in this particular case, I'm using Google Sheets and we can see that I have data right here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click and then attempt to paste and see if that comes in. Does it paste? Let's go ahead and see if Control V does. There it does, and I'm able to paste that. So these are the column headers that I need to use for my spreadsheet data. Now, looking at my spreadsheet data, we can see that my current player data is specified such that I have all of my first player names and my second player names each in their own individual columns. KeepaScore does not support that. KeepaScore needs the full name of the player as one single column. So when I make a selection here, notice that one of the things that we're getting is a formula. If at the very least this is something you need to do, this is the most complex it's going to get in your spreadsheet, where you're going to need to combine your first name and your last name. And we can see that the formula, as is showing when it's selected here, is reading concatenate, or I should say equals concatenate cell A2 with a space with cell B2. And that's as complex as it's going to get with regards to your spreadsheet. Most of the rest of your data is already going to be in one single cell. So in order to get this data in, all I need to do is use the header values that I took from KeepaScore and make sure that the right values apply. Birth date, as is indicated right here, already matches birth date, which is right here. Although my column is called rank, I can see that the two columns that KeepaScore wants is doubles or singles. So I'm just going to rename this rank to doubles so that it matches what KeepaScore expects. In this particular case, I have an email and that already exists. I also have a gender, and male and female is going to be recognized. In fact, I noticed that Simone here is specified as a male, and I'm going to change that to female. We also have the name. So just the single name value is what I'm going to need here for the single name, because my spreadsheet was using first name and last name. I've already combined that. And over here, this phone 1, KeepaScore only has one phone field, and that's used for the purpose of SMS texting. Let's take that 1 off and make sure everything is exactly as needed. Let's see, I've got birth date, doubles, email. That is one of the 2 required, either a duper ID or email. I've got gender, a name, phone, and you'll note that there are a few additional fields, and I need to make you aware of this. I'm going to indicate in this video anything that is red is going to be with the community or the free version. Anything that is indicated with turquoise is going to be the tournament edition, and that's likely paid or it's in beta as of the recording of these videos. So in the tournament edition, there are 2 particular fields or 2 columns, event and team. If you are a professional tournament director or you're coordinating an event and you are dealing with hundreds, maybe even thousands of players, you've got all of your registration in a spreadsheet, you have coordinated all of your events, you have made all of your teams, those are 2 columns that you're going to be able to use, which will automatically create your events in KeepaScore and automatically assign and associate your players into the proper teams, into the proper events. We'll have to take a look at that in another video. For this video, we're just going to take a look at the import, but the process where you do use the events and teams is super fast. So all we need to do now is make our selection from our spreadsheet. It's going to be that simple in order to do. So we simply select, we'll select here. Let's see if my selection will actually work. There we can select all of that. All right, so we've selected it. We should be able to copy now. We can see that it copied because all the dashed little lines came on. That should be on my clipboard. I should be able to swipe up and switch over. Now this is the help dialog, so I'll just click OK. I'll go back to the menu, and we will click on the import players, which we have right here. And that is going to give us a dialog in order to paste our information in. We click on import players. We're going to Command or Control V. Actually, let's see if that'll let me paste here. I might need to see, I'm in the simulator here, so the keyboard input is not actually working. Let's see if I can just get that to paste right there. See if I can get the paste icon to come up, and we paste that data in. We click Continue, and it tells us our import results. 7 players were processed based on matched based on the email. We can open the menu and look at the players in order to see our results. One important feature to recognize is this one right here. Use the last import option within the players filter to see your results. That's a very key feature here, because with the tournament edition, if you would like to use your most recently used import, because copy and pasting is so easy in KeepaScore, you're going to be able to load just those players in order to quick assign them to an event. So I'm going to click Done. And then we're going to head back into our menu. We're going to go to our players where we get our full list. And as it's stated, when we click on the players filter here, we can look at the last import, and it's going to bring up the 7 players that we copied from our spreadsheet. It can be Excel, it can be Google Sheets, it can be Apple Numbers, it can be on a mobile device, it can be on a desktop device. It doesn't matter. Column order doesn't matter. As long as you get the column names correct, KeepaScore will import your data. So at this stage, what we have is we also have a feature which is only going to be available in the tournament edition. That is that icon right there where we have the wrench icon. Now the feature in particular, provided we have already created an event, allows us to take these 7 players and quick join them to any one of our events. So if I click on Quick Join, if I had an event that was upcoming in the future, then it would actually present here. In fact, let's go ahead and go through that process. So I'm going to go to my events. It will only work with events in the future. All of the events that I currently have are in the past. So I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to call this a future event. Let me switch my keyboard so that I can use my keyboard input here. So this is a future event. It's happening in sometime in the future. Let's set it for November 30th. That's all that I need in this particular case. We'll head back over to my players. I've got the 7 loaded. It didn't actually reset that. And again, this is a feature specific to the tournament edition. It will not be in the community edition. We click on the quick join, and it presents my future event. I click on that event, and I actually have to confirm this because it's possible if you have a list of 1,000 players, clicking that, we would want the confirmation. You don't want to add 1,000 players to one event. We'll say join event, and we'll click join. And that's how easy it is to get the data in. And I can do this over and over again, and as long as my match value is exactly the same. So in other words, let's say, for example, I had a new event, and the rank value has changed. Let's say Bill has gone from a 2813 to a newer, a higher level of rank. Let's go back over to KeepaScore. Let's click on Bill. Let's make sure that the rank that we have him, Duper, is currently for doubles a 2813. Now, we don't want to have duplicates of Bill in our copy of KeepaScore. Well, provided we always have one of those match values, email or the Duper ID, we will match based on that. Now, if Bill registers for one of our tournaments and uses one email address, and then registers for another event, and that email address is different, KeepaScore will see those as 2 different players, even though it's the same Bill Bernard. So you have to know that KeepaScore, and any software for that matter, can only match based on exact values. So in that scenario, we're going to go through the process and get Bill updated with his rank coming from our registration information. Let's make Bill a 3.05 player. So again, if we go and copy our data, which we are going to copy right here, let's turn this off, see if that's part of my problem there with regards to making the selection. And we're going to drag over, actually, working the simulator here is a little bit different. We'll copy that data. Actually need to change my keyboard to copy it. So I've copied that now. We switch and we go over to KeepaScore. We go back to the menu, and we are going to scroll to our import players, which we do right now. We're going to paste that data in. So it's the same data we copied before. We click continue. Our 7 players were updated. We should be able to go into our menu, go into our players, and when we search for Bill, go ahead and use the keyboard here. There is Bill Bernard, and there is only one Bill Bernard, and when we select on him, we can see that his Duper rank has been changed from that 2 to a 3. So our import was successful. Duplicates were not created. Any data that we want updated will get updated based on a subsequent import. That includes the phone number, the email address, the name. It's all based on that match value. Now, there's a couple other features that we have that we can perform here in KeepaScore. When we go back to the players list, remember that our filter will allow us to load players based on a particular value, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So let's go through an example where you need to load a small set of players based on your spreadsheet data, wherever that comes from, whatever provider you're using for registration. Switching over to my spreadsheet, in many cases, this spreadsheet has the key value that you need. If there is a Duper ID, then you can use that. If there is an email address, then you can use that. By simply selecting and then highlighting, I'll need to turn off my cursor here in order to get this to work. Selecting and highlighting, we are able to copy that. If I can get it to copy, we'll go to the edit menu and we will copy it. There we go. So now that we've got this copied, I can use this one piece of information in KeepaScore in order to filter out of all of my players just these players that I want to see. Let's say I want them all to be in a particular event. In fact, we can see in my particular database here that the features that I have available in the tournament edition of the event and team columns will allow me to automatically have these created. We'll be taking a look at that here shortly. But if you're using the community edition, you do not have the event and team columns. They will show that they're available, but they will not be processed using KeepaScore. So we are going to switch back over to KeepaScore. And with those on the clipboard, we can click the menu. We can go to our players, and then we can click on our player filter. Now, obviously, filtering out of the 710 individually would be pretty difficult. In our player filters, we have the opportunity to use the ability to find duplicates, if we have duplicates, and that's typically just based on the email, because that's one of our key fields. To look at our last import, we can see all of our female versus our male players, or we can use this feature of list matching. And you can see that we have the two options of email and duper ID. So if I click on the email option, that is what I'm going to choose to filter by. I've already copied my data from my spreadsheet. I click on this 0 match values, and we can see that the ability to paste that data comes up. I paste all of my email addresses, I click continue, and I click apply, and that's going to filter out of my 710 players just the 7 that I want to see. This then can be used in conjunction if you're using the tournament edition in order to actually see or quick join all of these players to a particular event. So now what we're going to take a look at is the last feature of the import option, and that is for the tournament edition, being able to have your import and your event created and your teams automatically created and joined to the event, and see how easy that is. So let's take a look at the tournament edition features of being able to automatically have events created and teams created and associated to those events. It is simply a matter of following the sequence that we've already learned, and all you have to do is have in an event column and a team column. The rest of everything else is just as straightforward as what we did before. Selecting from our name and highlighting, and then going over and selecting everything. With the tournament edition with event and team columns, provided the event is the same name. Remember, you don't want to have accidental extra spaces. And as long as the team names are unique, we can see that even though we've got players that have been separated by a couple of rows, it really doesn't matter. We simply just copy that data and we switch over to KeepaScore. And in KeepaScore, we are going to select our menu. We're going to scroll to import players. We're going to then select that option. We are going to paste that data in, and with the event column, we're going to get our import results of our 7 players. And as soon as we click done, it's going to tell us. And no matter how many events you can have 3, you can have 15, you can have 40. You can have 1,000 players. KeepaScore will process the data, and you will simply just click create, and it will tell you that those events have been created. And all you have to do is go up to your menu, go to your events, and in your upcoming future events, you will have an event named respective of the column of event from your spreadsheet. It will have all of the participants, which we can see there are 7 of them. And if I click to load this event, I can see that in my teams, I have all of my 3 teams. Of course, the default is to have a team size of 2. If you have imported a team style event where you've got more than 2 players per team, KeepaScore will handle that just fine. But we can see that Richard, according to our spreadsheet, was the only person that did not currently have a partner, which is indicated right there. But that's no problem because KeepaScore tells us that that is a problem because it is highlighted in red. But we are now ready to simply just choose our format, generate our games, and play them right off the bat. And of course, if you have the tournament edition of KeepaScore, you can print your scorecards before the day of the event and be ready to go with KeepaScore running a smooth flowing event that can handle anywhere from 4 players up to 4,000.